Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rainy Rosas podcast. And today with us is Rakesh Sukesh. I think that many of you already know Rakesh because he has been very active teaching all over Europe and also in India. So, welcome, Rakesh.
Thank you, Carlito.
Yes. So, for all of you that don't know, Rakesh is an Indian contemporary dancer that started in Kerala. So, he started actually dancing in Bollywood as a dancer and choreographer. He will tell us more later. And he has been interested in the yogic tradition. So, he became yoga teacher also later on. And he participated in the Attakalari in Bangalore, Attakalari Dance Center for Movement Arts. Yeah. And he has a specialized in, let's see if I can pronounce it, Kalarippayattu, which is a martial arts there in India. And then he developed his own movement research, Payatt INtransit, combining yoga, combining asanas, pranayama, energy work, and psychology. He has been working basically all around Europe with Sidi Larbi, Ultima Vez, Impuls Tanz, in Deltebre, in B12, and even teaching in Antwerp and in parts, and in seats as well, and even in Canada, in circuit test, and in Tallinn, so everywhere in Europe. 2007, 2016 and 2017, he became a jury in Tanz House in Zurich, and in 2020, he co-founded the global platform, which I have here the name. He co-founded Sanskar Global Platform for Performing Arts. So
It's
he will
Sanskar.
Sanskar Global Platform for Performing Arts. Thank you. So he will explain us a little bit of what is this global project. And yeah, if you want to meet him, he's in Brussels and he's very active right now in Portugal, I think. So welcome, Rakesh. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Carlito. I'm happy to be here. So, well,
Good.
you kind of, I went through the main part of my little journey, so I can just elaborate that a little bit more. So, as
Yes,
you said, I
please.
started as a Bollywood dancer when I was a teenager, and it's fun. At that time, the Bollywood dance was happening, but it was not as big as now. And because now, because of YouTube and the dance style is much more accessible, so people can practice much easily. Before you had to still go to a teacher and you with a company or a group you learn from there. So I was busy with it, and technically you would ideally your aim is to arrive to film industry, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
go to cinema and start dancing behind the screen and then sorry behind the camera, and then you would probably become a choreographer. That's kind of like the lineage that would happen. And somehow I did not enjoy it. I went to film industry. I did not connect to it. It was not my world. And then I switched to Attakalari that you mentioned, where I came to know about what is contemporary dance means
Let,
because we had
let me ask you about the Bollywood a little bit more.
yes.
So, how was your experience? Like, why didn't you connect with the industry of filming in India?
Yeah, I think it's because you realize dance and you find the joy of dancing and you give all your heart and passion to it and that's like your devotion, right? And then you go to this space where they have a different agenda, and in Bollywood industry there is a very hierarchical way of looking at people actually. And for example, you have the main people, which is producer, the main actor, and the director. They are on the top, and then comes the assistants or the then the heroine, the female characters, and the character artist. And then you have this very clear, very definite pyramid system there. And so the dancers become the last at the bottom because you are this almost like this flowers that is to decorate what is going on. And so the way they treat you is really feels like wow, it's they don't really respect for as a human. They're like, you're a dancer, so you're not supposed to be here. To give an example, because unfortunately Bollywood industry, not every film in the production has a lot of money, so they somehow try to save money from different ways. So they try to have as less um, resources as possible. Maybe the location is on a mountain, so they cannot carry a lot of material, or they sometimes in the city. So let's say if you have a lunch break and then you have to eat, and everybody eats at the same time, And they say, the director's table is that, chair and a table, and the assistants would get a chair, and then their assistants would get a table to sit on, and other people have to stand and eat.
Right.
And so if you go and sit on, they're like, no, 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 you're not supposed to sit. You're the dancers, right? Okay, now stand up, eat. So it was a bit like, whoa, what is this? It's my personal experience. And
Yeah.
of course, people accept it there and they move on, because I guess these kind of situation happens in many places. I'm not saying it's only happened in Bollywood industry. It happens in a corporate world, in a banking world, in a political world. As we all know, this pushing and hierarchy, and it's happening everywhere. So it was really like for me a confrontation. And I think I was also too young that time to go with it. I was like 18, and I was quite shocked with the way it was. And then I was questioning, like, why do I get treated like this just because I do what I do, what I love to do? No, it's for me it was really like a moment of let's say realization. That's why and along with it, in Bollywood dancing, it's fun, it's athletic, it's really really physical, and you're on stage always smiling and dancing, and there is just one layer of work. And but at the same time, sometimes it can become very superficial also. If you really want to be honest with yourself, with your dance, with your art, then it becomes very superficial at some point. And then for me, I was looking for something where I feel like, how can I continue what I'm doing, but try to find my own way or my own existence, and also respect towards what I do, and the people accept me for what it is. So that's why I did not connect to it.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I guess it's a good experience to learn, if you create big productions to treat all the people properly later on in the future. And
I
also
try to.
yeah. And the contrast with what is on the screen, like this beautiful product, like the nice film, everybody's happy and smiling, but what is behind the screen is like many times that's a good.
Yeah, I guess that's all attracts people, because in India, we had a very strong culture, traditional forms, and those times people consider dance is very holy. Even now, there are specific kinds of dances. It's actually all about dancing for gods. Even now,
Mhm.
in 2022, they dance for gods. They symbolizes the act for devoting and so on and so forth. And it was like this for a long time. And then we had colonization, and when like it happened everywhere, they took out traditions, they took out martial arts, they took out knowledges, because they wanted people to go to the bottom, and then you recreate a new civilization.
Yeah.
So because of that, we had a big crisis. And when India became independent now 80 years ago, it was a big mess. What was so people did not have time to, yes, in the weekend let's go to theater and enjoy art. No, they're like, okay, I have to put food on people's plate. So then now the society is striving towards trying to get a life together, and there's still a lot of people are struggling. So hence, the free time that you have to go and watch art in a gallery and theater is very less, and also the sensitivity has gone down. So, so very often you have a TV at home. Everybody buys a TV, and the TV is loaded with this Bollywood reality show. So then people want to achieve that. They're like, wow, I want to get myself there, because in India, a celebrity is like God. It's
Yeah.
not like, in Western world, you might end up seeing, I don't know, a big celebrity next to you in a tram, but then you just like smile, or you might get excited a little bit, but at the same time you move on. But in India, no, you are like, they really take you up, like celebrate that you exist. And I mean, you also had cases where there was I think it happened just before even my birth. There was this one actor in South India who was so big, and he was also become a political leader later. When he passed away, many people killed themselves. They burned themselves because
Jesus
because
Christ.
of the grieving. Yes. And there was another space like this I saw in my eyes, where another state, again a big actor passed away. People went rioting, and he passed away because he's just old. People went rioting, breaking things, and some people even they tried to kill themselves. So in India, people are too passionate, and when they find a symbol that gives them joy, find a symbol which is, inspiring them, and they really make their life about that person. And I'm not saying everybody, but it happens quite a lot. So
Mm.
then this industry is like more than life for some people. So hence they don't care. Like it's okay, anyway, my life is hard in sometimes in the street. So what? So you accept it, you somehow try to get yourself out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which makes me think, because now with the death of Maradona that happened recently, there was also this big turmoil and some riots and things. So, what would be for you like a healthy approach? Because I like the idea of believing in yourself, believing you can do it, and believing that you are offering this joy and this opportunity to people. But now I didn't think about these negative consequences of riots of
I
people
mean,
claim.
I would, I mean, of course, what came out of it is completely negative thing. But at the same time, I think what is beautiful is the conviction and passion of people, right? They really like idolizing a person, and they give all their heart and life to this person. And so when it's great as a state of being, but I think it would be great if they had the same conviction towards their own happiness through themselves, not by relying on source, because you're talking about, I come from that environment. You're talking about like, you living so basic life, and sharing one living room with your grandmother, two brothers, and you don't have a privacy. And then you see in the TV where suddenly the superstars, they are in the Swiss mountain dancing Bollywood dance. And so for you it's like, wow, they are showing a pleasure of life, and they are the means to show the pleasure of life, and they get that, and they feel the sense of that connection with them, and hence they go to these extreme places. And if people can somehow start focusing on how can I be in the pleasurable place, or find my own way of get there, and have the same passion, but the passion should be how can I find it by myself rather than relying on outside source. And that's also happened because of the political system is exactly the same, and religions are the same. It's all about this conviction and passion. You just believe on something that is going to save you one day, or give you joy one day, or hope one day, and you're ready to do anything. So I guess this nature of this mad love and blind love happens in many degree in many places. And if people can have exactly that towards themselves and people around, and and I guess that's great. You just have to direct it in a different way. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. The internalization of divinity instead of externalizing other people. Nice, nice, nice. So nice, very good diversion into the story. So what happened after Bollywood when you
Yeah.
stopped in the
So
industry?
like I said, and then at one point I was actually meanwhile studying automobile engineering, which is nothing to do with nothing to do with dance. I was like, okay, I'm going to start making cars and fix cars. And but then I saw a picture of this very abstract image of two bodies like bent in space like this. At that time in India, we don't have so much contemporary dance. It was there, it happened in a very micro amount, and it was not familiar for, I would say, 99.5% of people have no clue what is contemporary dance. Excuse me. So then I saw this very interesting picture. My friend showed me. He's like, yeah, this is kind of a new form of dance. And this choreographer went abroad. He studied there. And he also studied traditional forms in India. So he's trying to do something interesting. And I was like, okay, let me try. So I went for the audition. I got selected. And then I said, okay, I will go and try for a few months. And they said, okay, we will take you. Because in India, we did not have school at that time. There was no official bachelor's or master's. So then the only way the company can become a company by having a dancers. For that, they have to create a training program. So he said, okay, you come, join us, join the company for 6 months. We see how it goes. If you're developing, then we continue. If not, we stop. So I went there, and then I started training in different forms of contemporary dance, and even like basic ballet, and then this martial arts that you mentioned that we were also training in that. But just to kind of talk about the martial art, so the martial art has four different stages. One is the physical preparation, another one is the wooden weapon, and then the third one is the metal, where there's sword and shield and stuff, and the last one, body to body combat. But whereas like there we had an introduction towards the physical preparation part, which is what I am interested in, which is what later became my own further training and further development in that. So I don't specialize in the other layers because I don't like violence, and that start becoming towards the violent part of form. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I had an experience in the show. For me, it was really like, no, the why, we're not in that time right now. So it made sense when 2000 years ago, when you had to go and kill people for a land or kill people for that time. Yes, it was necessary as a survival, but now we are in a different place. So I kind of stayed on the physical preparation of the form. And so we got some basic training there. And then later I started to continue further. And so yeah, so we were getting different kind of training in the company. And then I come from in India. I never even took a plane before joining this company, and that was age of 25. And first time I'm taking a plane, and I was taking a plane to Germany, to a city called Bonn. And so it was a complete cultural shock for me. It was like, wow, what is this? Because if you go to India, it's how do I say, it's so complex and so chaotic. I mean, for Indians, it's not chaotic. For outsiders, yes, it's chaotic. And and to the opposite end of like absolute order and preciseness and everything well crafted. Even the natures are well crafted by human mind. And it's, for me, it was like, wow, what is it? And in India, we live with nature because we are nature. So we have to allow it to grow and allow the cow to pass, because the cow also belongs to the same space as me. Whereas here, like, categorize them, put them in certain systems. And it was a big shock for me. And then even culturally, artistically, I was like very intrigued by what people are doing in Europe, because as we all know that they've been a bit more ahead in time with the idea of contemporary art. And so they had that evolution already. So for me, it was a turning point in my mind, like, okay, I want to continue learning. And because I know that I am busy with something and I have not found something that I feel it could be my pathway of finding my art, and to see what I can do with my art in the company in India. So then I started coming to Europe, and I did first apprenticeship with Katie Duck in Amsterdam. And
Mhm.
she works with instant composition. And because in India, in the art, we don't do instant composition like in dance performing art. It's everything is set, like everything is choreographed. But in the street, yes, you're constantly instant composition. You have no idea what's going to come in life. So when you're going on the street driving or in the market, you're always composing yourself. So for me, it was like an opposite understanding of art, and I would put myself in an extreme reality. Like, I have to make a piece when I don't know what the piece is about, and which was a very good challenge for me. And so then it started this curiosity. And at the same time, because of the contract I had with the company in India, they said like, well, if you go to Europe, we cannot work with you. And then I said, oh, okay, because I spent 6 years of my life there. So at one point I wanted to grow further, and then they had a different belief and way of working. And I realized, okay, moving on is the best way for me to grow further. And so then I did not have the job when I go back to India. So I kind of continued looking for a job in Europe. And so I did some
So,
auditions.
Rakesh,
Sorry.
if you allow me to make a reflection, because I was studying psychology there in Brussels, and we had a theory about divinity, like how many times divinity compensates the things that are lacking in the society. In this case, I think art might compensate what is missing in the society, because you verbalize it very clearly, like how in Europe everything is organized, so then the art can be disorganized and can be spontaneous and can be like, yeah, happening. While in India everything is sort of intermingled, so the art has to be really
Yeah,
organized.
it makes sense. I mean, for example, to give an example of, let's say, Bollywood industry, if you go back to it, If you watch Bollywood scene film, we call it's a masala movie. Like we used to have as a child, masala movie. What does it mean is that that movie has everything from laughter to crying to action to song to dance to fight, where they create a complete entertainment where people can forget their reality and immerse in the reality of dream and beauty and traveling the world. It's exactly like what you said, where the psychology of Bollywood film is actually how can people to forget their own misery or the chaos that they're coming from, enter into a magical world. And that's why you see all Bollywood movies always over the top, over colorful, not realistic. And there is realistic film, there is underground film. And where else, if you look at art in Europe, you said exactly that, which is also I've been busy with. Life is so controlled. Like I was in Switzerland for 4 years of my life. In Swiss streets, you have to be certain way, and you have no clue who the people are that you're talking with, and you always feel like, wow, people all have a secret here and they don't want to share. They're like, keep it neutral. And when you go to a theater, everything comes out. They they really make the other layer that we don't see in the streets of Europe or the social environment of Europe. You see it in the art world. So exactly, I agree with you, and it's also something that I've been busy with in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
in my quest.
And what you mentioned now, the idea of trying to go broad, like covering these different emotions, these different environments in the story, while the contemporary art in Europe sometimes it tries to go deep, like getting one emotion, one situation, and then dig into it.
Yes and no. I think it can be even deeper. From my experience. No, because why I'm saying is that now I'm going to follow our thoughts. Yeah, I follow what we are talking about,
Yeah.
which is actually, like if you look at any traditional practices, right? Like you have ballet, let's call ballet, or in India we have several classical traditional practices. You have several dance forms, several physical theater forms, and theater forms, and there for you to really do even a first show, some of the forms, they say you have to do at least minimum 15 years of training. Minimum. And a training, it's not 2 hour training a day. You're talking about starting early morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you spend the entire day's training until like 8 in the evening. And for 15 years to see if you can perform. And if you want to call yourself the performer and to become a master at performance, and you're talking about 40-year project, and then you see what they do, it's really a magic. And yes, I agree with the point what you said, that in contemporary world in Europe, they bring the other layer of humanity, where they talk about the depth of humanity, which is of the inner nature, let's say, beyond the skin part, right? But for me, yes, but I guess the craftsmanship can be much more deeper. How deep can you go with your own art? How deep can you go with the way you perform, and what tools you use to perform? And for me, that I feel it's bit, because the contemporary world has the beauty that is that it's so open, but at the same time it's very whatever, a little bit, we take like ideas from this and that. Yeah, I did 2 months training in this martial art, now I'm going to use it in my new piece. Or, oh, I did this practice in the circus, I'm going to use that. It's a lot about this, but then not giving also time to go, you take something that you're passionate about, can you spend 30 years of it and see what happens in your contemporary art? You know what I mean? So this I miss somehow.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of, because sometimes I stand for this, sometimes I question it, but I think it's the industry, the capitalism, also the speed of things, like having all the information available, and if you have this curious mind, you want to try this, you want to try this. So yeah, and also the consistency. I think it's very generational actually. Like the younger the
Absolutely.
people, yeah.
I think like we are product oriented generation rather than the process oriented generation,
Yeah,
right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you wake up in the morning, you want to show a product 50 seconds, or I want to show a product of now. So much about showing, not necessarily like what is in there honestly. And like you said, now we don't have a grant for 5 years anymore, where a company gets money for 5 years to make creations. Then you can take higher dances, at least invest on something for 5 years to see where we arrive. You're talking about, if you're lucky, 5 weeks. you know if you're lucky, 5 weeks of creation process. And then of course you're busy with, like, okay, let's see what we can do with what we have. But I don't think as an artist, we cannot also depend and rely on 100% of life on that. you know our investigation, and if you're interested in going in depth, it should not be defined by how much grant you get, or it should not be defined by, can I work 5 years with somebody. No, this has to happen parallel. Now, which comes to, in a way, Sanskar is all about that, which is this creating because countries like Southeast Asia, I'm talking about Sri Lanka, or Bangladesh, or even in South America, in many countries, we don't have money. Like, we don't see money contemporary dance. When I grew, there was no money. There is some money which was taken by this already existing big companies, and the channel is there. But upcoming choreographer, artists, we don't have money ever. But we continue every day. So the idea of having money from a system was never there for us. It was zero. So the only way we would continue is we find other ways to make money. Then later we can come and invest on something with which we can go deeper. So I think, yes, I agree. And at the same time, but we still have a choice.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Okay, so continue with your story, like deciding to move to Europe.
Yeah, so anyway, I was in Europe. I did some auditions because I didn't have work to do in India. And I actually went through several auditions, some even big companies, and a very big company at the time. Um, I went. I think, for example, I went to audition with Pina Bausch, and it was like the most funniest audition ever in my entire life. Because you apply and they look at your CV, they say, yeah, please come, and then they say, we will have 2 rounds of audition, and which is that you do a ballet and then you do repertoire, and then we decide. And then I have very bad ballet. I mean, in India, we don't have ballet. I mean, whatever ballet we had was not good enough. I knew that with ballet, no way, I'm not going to get through anywhere. So, and also another friend of mine, he was in Munich, and he wrote to me saying, hey, you're going for this audition? Me too. But I sure we should go, because, they asked for ballet and repertoire. And I said, I don't know. They're inviting us. So why don't we ask them? And we asked them, the company, and they said, no, 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 please come. Don't worry. If we see the selection will be out of repertoire. So we spent money, which we did not have, because I was in Holland and he was in Munich, and we were going to Essen. So you spend, I don't know, 100 euros on that. You go, you stand there, and a teacher came. She was speaking not even in English. And it seems to be that they're going to do a ballet class, of course, and they're going to do a selection after the ballet class. And I was like, ah, okay. And then I look at my friend across the room. We look at each other and we go immediately, no, we are out. So we were doing ballet, and you have these 2 clowns from India, and you have all these American European doing ballet, and we're like trying to chase people behind. It was like a comedy show. So anyway, and sometimes I got chosen also in many big companies, and then they say, oh, great, let's see what we can do. And then, oh, you have an Indian passport. Oh, okay. It's very difficult because the government says that we have to pay, we have to do a lot of paperwork. It will take lots of money and resources for us, sorry. So I remember that summer I did almost 8 auditions, and everything got cancelled because I had an Indian passport. And but somehow I managed to teach a warm-up class in Sidi Larbi company at that time, and because a friend of mine was working there, I gave a class there, and I was giving like this basic traditional warm-up class, this martial art class, and they really enjoyed. And then there's somebody from that say like, wow, this is really interesting. We never had this before. And I'm going to introduce to Roberto Olivan, Deltebre Danza. Let's see
Yeah.
how it goes. And then I got introduced there, and I tried there, and they also liked it. And then slowly the teaching started to bring me back to Europe, and people start to hear about my work. And also, I could not call it a Kalarippayattu class because, in India, we value the traditions a lot. And but this is not really a traditional method anymore, because traditional has a holistic system of being. But I'm just taking a branch of it and trying to work with that. And also, it was a period of time where martial art and dance was not so intertwined. It was really a separate entity. So I remember teaching in Dance Sundaram Jet, and then people would come for the class. And, yeah, they're really cool, but it's not really a dance class, but we like it. You know, this kind of things started to happen. Then I started to question, like, okay, what do I do with this now form? And then I was in workshop with David Zambrano, improvisation, and then I had a talk with him, and I said, like, so how do you do it? Like, you do this every day of your life, don't you get bored? Then he said, well, every day I try to do it differently as much as I can. And so these kind of words that you meet people gives you a bit of spark. And then I start questioning, like, how can I research this form? And then I start to develop what you said, Payatt INtransit, which means Payatt means movement, and that's in transit, that is always changing and evolving. And that has been my evolution towards as a teacher. And after a while, I said, okay, I don't care about being on stage and working for people. If people comes to me and want to work with me, I work, and I'm not going to run behind it, because I have a passport that does not give me same freedom as, let's say, you know. And I don't know why, because we are same people, but apparently not. And so you kind of have to understand the reality, and you see, okay, what is the reality offers? Because clearly my life is not defined by, my dream is not defined by my passport, my race. No, you're not supposed to have certain privileges than somebody coming from Western world who can easily arrive to India, stay for 6 months, and then find a network. It's like goes super fast. And for us, it's painful process, you know, and to do the reverse action. So when you see all this reality, then you think about, okay, I need to start a program, a research that is dependent on myself, which is becomes the teaching. Because then if I start investigating the teaching and making sure it's growing and it's people find it relevant, it will bring me to places. So I decided that I go to a place, I try to give full 100% to the work, and I leave. And then it slowly balls start to roll by itself. People start to speak about the forum, what I'm doing, and they start inviting me through a different channel.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's about it with my teaching development.
Yeah, yeah. Also, something that I experienced when I went to your classes is I think is nice the aspect that it's adjustable for different levels. Like you can be professional and get something from it, and you can be beginner and get something from it. I think that's something very important. Yeah.
Yes, I mean the form, for example, I mean now the classes have changed from what I started 12 years ago, but the essence of this martial art is still there. But if you look at the mechanics of the martial art, it's quite basic actually. It's all about, through training, obviously you improve the range of the form, range of your physical potential in the form, but otherwise it's a very basic method. And so hence you can find your way. And that's only the form, the physical part of it. And as I've been developing and researching and going through reality, being an Indian, being in different part of Europe and traveling towards America and places like that, you also question in a psychological way and a political way. You question the reality of life, and what are we as a humanity. Why am I different than you? Why are you different than me? What do you mean by different? So when you start looking at world differently, and then for me, like, okay, I am not going to be busy with this mindset, that mindset, this ideology. I'm going to go to go a basic of a method, a form that focuses on the movement, that focus on breath, the focus on the thought, mind, emotion, energy. That's it. And this resonates everywhere. It resonates in every level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 very much. And I even remember that you like reading a story or telling a story, like some yogic spiritual Oriental tradition.
I
That
guess,
was, yeah. Tell me.
no, because like the fact that I kind of able to step out of my culture allowed me to look at my culture from outside. And because inside you're kind of like in this trance of life there. And suddenly I'm in with my family in a temple praying, and suddenly where I remove my shoes outside the temple, I go inside and come back, and my shoes not there outside anymore because it's gone. And you're like in this so chaotic environment, and then after a while there is this certain beliefs that has been there for, I don't know, thousands of years, 10,000, I don't know how long. And then you have this all these cultural norms and contradictions. Then you're like, whoa, what's actually going on in India? What does this Indian culture mean? You know? And then I start to look at the more, start to travel to the basic, like the core aspect of the, not the religious differences, the caste differences, but what were they talking about in ancient time? They they spoke about human development. They spoke about evolution of humanity. You know, how to become completely yourself, complete human. And for that, they had a very system of practice, physical practice, lifestyle, and ethics, values, and philosophies. Because they this the principle is simple. When I move away, I am creating an effect in me. When I sit in a way, biologically, I'm creating certain effect to sit this way. Or when I'm with a certain intention, when I have a conversation with you, what I create inside me is different with another kind of intention, you know, or another kind of intention. Everything is actually creating an impact in us. And so hence, if you're looking for perfection or looking for advancement as a human, you need to be clear with what kind of charge, what kind of harmony you create inside you and the environment that helps you to develop to a further evolution. So then, you know, over thousands of years of investigation, many yogis, many teachers, they found stories, myths, the concepts, where they were spreading these knowledges through stories before they start writing. And they created characters which symbolizes certain energies, certain intentions, certain psychology, and they were spreading knowledge through these stories. And for me, as I said, like over the time I'm researching, somehow it makes sense when people arrive to room. Okay, today the topic we are going to work on sharing, or today the topic is working on inner chaos, or today the topic on recognizing your weakness and what decision you make. So if that's a topic that we take 1 or 2 days, so then I bring this idea of this myths inside, so people connect to it. And also it kind of aligns everybody in the same mindset, or a mindset for you to start reflecting the practice that is follows further that day.
Nice. So Rakesh Sukesh not only dance, also philosophy there in the classes. In Payatt INtransit. Wow. So then, like more recent things, you were participating as a jury also in Zurich.
Well, I put that there. It's just as a brief thing, but it was not really also a big thing. It's just that I was in Switzerland for 3 years, 4 years in total, and it was very difficult for me enter into the scene. It's unlike Brussels, where there's a constant movement of people from other part of the world coming in and out. There is much more easier way that you can find social life. And whereas in Zurich, it's not possible. And it took a long time for me to go for a coffee with somebody, you know, to get to know each other, because they are, I don't know, it's a different way of being there. Even when you go for a class, let's say morning training to train yourself, which is kind of becomes one of the meeting point of dancers, you know, or artists. You go to Dancentrum Jet, you meet 25 people every day morning. And then, you know, you go 2 days, maybe third day you're talking with somebody, maybe spontaneously having a coffee with the person. But in Zurich, it was difficult. And then the Tanzhaus, they have all the resources, amazing resources. They were trying to get the scene moving, but then they were like having one person taking class, two people taking class, three people taking class, and then it was getting a bit like, wow, depressing. And then they had this weekend event to bring all the artists in the scene to talk about what's going on, what is training for you now, how do we, why this is not working, what kind of training is necessary. So I happened to give kind of a warm-up class of Payatt INtransit there, and then people really resonated to it. And I think it also, I guess the scene recognized, there are people around who can bring in some interesting tools into the scene to ignite the scene. And So from there, Tansas reached out to me saying, look, hey, we are trying to have a pool member, 3 people. Can you be part of it for a year, that you would compose the teachers that would come for the following year? So we were sitting together, planning, sketching which are the teachers, and also we were asked to teach consecutively for several period. So we had this in charge for for a year, and then meanwhile I got kicked out of Switzerland because of my papers again. And so I had to leave behind, and I knew it coming. Like, when I was halfway through, I recognized, okay, I think my Swiss life is coming to an end. So I kind of, depart from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this can be a question like, what's your personal criteria to choose, for example, between teachers, or I don't know if you do the selection also of the people for the house. Like, what's your criteria to
I
say
mean,
this one or this one? Yeah.
I had only a power towards the teaching part that time. So me, I think, first of all, as we know, contemporary world is so big and vast, and everybody's busy with different way of moving and teaching. So I am not so much behind, is this form that's something that I would take a class, I think because every dancer is different. Every dancer is coming for a different kind of training system. But for me, it was, what is this teacher has to offer? Do they have substance, and do they have experience in what they're talking about? And are they good teachers? Because you can be a great mover and you can make 50 minutes video of you doing amazing praise, does not mean you're a good teacher. The teaching is something else, and that you are really making sure what you are there for, able to transmit it to these people there. So just to look at what people are busy with, and to see if they have the skill for it, and if they are able to articulate what they're saying, and how the class is resonating it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like my way of looking at, not only in teaching, in many ways. I mean, me as an artist, I might have my opinion and belief, but if I talk about collectively, then you have to allow others to do what they do, but we just have to make sure, are they good at what they do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then, because you have participated in different schools along Europe, do you have like a special, like, positive feeling towards any of them?
Well, each school has different agendas, and there is like, one is the fact that what happens in the studio. Another one is also the school itself. Like, there is a psychology in the school. There is mindset of the school. And I mean, from back of my head, the places that I go quite a lot, or I've been, let's say, multiple times. For example, Seed, they really offer multiple teachers, and who's very good, and they prepare dancers that is versatile and ready to offer any choreographer they comes in, they're ready to give something, because they have so many variety of experience. And I think that's great, because especially now, as you're not going to get a contract for 5 years where you can offer one thing, or be with one way. You have to change yourself every audition. And because one person wants you to not move, one person wants you to speak, one person to want to sing and dance like crazy. So for that, they prepare you very good. So that is great. And for example, now I'm kind of teach more often in Artesis in Antwerp, and kind of like a part-time, go several times a year. And what I like about that school is that, which is actually, they're quite humble. They're not so popular like other places, but the program, I found it one of the best, because they really go for recognizing the potential of the dancer and make them into an artist, or guide them a direction towards becoming an artist within their own interests. So there is all about the individuality, and offering what is necessary for that person, for this person. So I think there it's all about, again, giving multiple inputs, but asking them to find something for themselves, which they can go further with. Parts, I went only very recently, just few times, so I cannot really comment much. And parts is parts, we know parts. And now I've also come to Performact, which is another school in Portugal. And here, what I like about is that, again, they give multiple different training systems, But here I find the artists are more being human, like they really interact as a human. What I mean by that, oh, I'm in a dance school, hence I'm not allowed to be certain way. I have to, follow these codes of behavior. But here, no, people are like being themselves. And so you feel that the psychology of space is more like being in the human nature. And it also, like, 2 days ago, yesterday, I saw some pieces. You can see in the pieces the uniqueness and the rawness of work, and it's also interesting. So like every space has a different feel to it.
Nice. I like what you mentioned about Antwerp. So, do they have like a process of, I mean, where the teacher is coaching the person, or they have a more deeper relationship?
They have the bachelor is 3 year, and I think the first year they focus. They have like a kind of different graph system. So you have first year focus a lot on the training, the body part, and then less on, let's say, creative part, and then you have writing much more, like so that like this. And the second year it changes a little bit more, where the creative part and self-reflection, and this is the graph goes a little up, and writing and analyzing and everything changes. And then the third part, it's all about this graph, where the training becomes less, and one is indulging more into his own creation and developing it further from the experience of last 2 years, and also how to formulate it and how to make relevant, and how to apply money with it, or how to write a description with it, and how to interact with the other scene from outside source. And so they have this a different journey. Within 3 years they go, and for me I feel like it's a nice trajectory. But of course, if you take a bunch of people, they all have a different skills. For example, I had this group that I saw them in 3 years time, and I was questioning like a few people, like, as a dancer, I wonder if this person is going to be in many companies, because I don't know the skills yet. And but the third year, the pieces they were creating, I was like, oh wow, okay, no, I have to change myself, because they really surprised me. So that's the beauty of the place. Also, after a while you realize, like, yes, this person might not able to do a trick, or a lift, or a choreography, but you never know what is inside that man's brain or that woman's brain. And that you see it in the third year, and you get surprised. You're like, wow, okay. So then you
Yeah,
recognize, I guess, as a teacher, this is your job.
nice. I like it. I like it to go.
And the school is called, it's not Antwerp, it's called App University. They call App University. That's how they
Mhm.
call it now. It used to call Artesis, but they changed it now.
Okay, so for the people that want to research, Artesis or the API, the new one.
Yes, AP is.
Yeah. So the question now is about this new project, the Sanskar.
So
Tell us.
Sanskar is a brainchild of myself and Narendra Patel. Is another Indian artist. Again, he's having his own travel journey in Europe since like few years now. And so we resonate our life. We know more or less what we're going through. When we look at each other's eyes, we don't need to say a problem. And I, from my experience and Narendra's experience, we know that there is talent everywhere in the world, and so much potential, more than many people that is successful now. It's just that they don't have a fair chance, a fair resources. And maybe some people have it, but they just need a right people to work with them to ignite them. And yeah, as I said, like some countries are busy mainly with like survival aspect of life, not now let's invest money on art. For example, in India, I don't know when it's going to happen. There is money, but it's not enough for the countryside. So when you have situations such as these, so you have this hotspot, which is Europe, let's call it, for contemporary movement art, which is so many variety of work going on from between London to Germany to Belgium to Holland to France. It's so variety and so great. And they are fad for getting further and further. And then you have these other people that trying to watch YouTube. Oh, I want to study flying low. Where can I go? Okay, this person apparently did 50 days with David Zambrano, or this person studied under somebody who did 50 days. Then you get training from like really, 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 different stages of information. Then we said like, okay, just because we don't have money does not mean we should not have a quality information. You know, how can we offer that? And then we said like, why don't we organize this organization, which is called Sanskar Global for Performing Art? It's all about trying to desaturate the high quality of information from like specific spaces, bring them to Southeast Asia, and which also becomes a center point. India could be a center point for many countries around because it connects to Australia, it connects to Japan, China, and Middle East, and it's easier to go to India and it's cheaper than coming to Europe. Let's say an Indian wants to come and do, let's say, a workshop that is for 1 month. He has to spend, I don't know, 8 months of his salary, and it's a lot of money for an Indian, and not everybody can achieve it. Some people would not do it ever in their life. So at the same time, along the way, we had relationship with many great artists, and some people are already had the success of their life. They're not like, oh, I want to become more successful. And when you talk to them about the social context of the project and why we do this, and they really resonate to it, they're like, yes, we want to support. So we had the first edition of the festival this year just before the pandemic. Somehow we managed to do it, and we were lucky about that. So we had for first edition from outside India, we had Francisco Cordova from Mexico, and he was teaching his technique. And then we had Vittoria De Ferrari. She's from Italy, living in Belgium. She was teaching her technique. And then we have Roberto Olivan, who's from Deltebre Danza. He has his own company, his own method. And David Zambrano and Wim Wendekebes. So they all came and basically to kind of share their artistic skills and tools and what they have done with art, because Roberto Olivan, he did not just dance and create, he created festival. And when we call it as a festival, it's not just, oh, there's going to be dance pieces to watch. I saw Deltebre Danza since 2011, and I know it since so many years, and I saw the evolution of the festival and what impact that it created in the society there. When I went first edition, there were like 100 people coming and watching every day. Now, last 3-4 years, or 5 years, there are 1,000 people watch every day. You don't get 1,000 people watching a piece in, let's say, in Belgium, and you have it in different places because people have nothing, and they're very thankful. You have world-class artists coming and giving this, and they're very excited about it. And so for me, it's like, wow, these people are creating more than just dance. And if you know Wim Wendekebes, you know his history. We don't need to talk about it, but he inspired so many other artists later. And David Zambrano is the same. He's a master for so many people that is now like a great teachers and a great artist. So we are bringing like the top high level people to make them spend few days with people from different part of the world. We had, I think we were totally 60 people, but we had people from 28 different countries. And so that for them to experience this knowledges, information, plus we also brought Indian traditional methods, which was to connect to the conversation we had talking about the depth of practice, because we wanted to see, okay, guys, we are busy with this. Now listen to something that happened before, which has so much beauty in it. So we were also trying to bring information from different time in the same place to reflect on, okay, this is what we have now. Where are we going as an artist? How do we continue as an artist? How can we evolve as an artist? And so creating this space, and so Sanskar means creating imprint, yeah, physical, mental, psychological, spiritual imprint. That the term means Sanskar, means imprint, creating imprint. And we also have a design. We call it as it's a logo. It's inspired by an Indian geometrical system, and it's called Sri Chakra Yantra, and that symbolizes concentrated energy space. So basically, what we're trying to do is that we're bringing people from different areas of information, creating this concentrated space so that people can create imprints. The artists that come there, they create imprints, they create memory there, with which they can evolve and grow and support the community within their own country. And also with this event, we're trying to create connections with people and that they can develop further together even. And that is one branch. And second branch, we are also trying to go to more like, people, children from, let's say, economically backwards background, to give them art, to see how we can support them, teach them that our joy does not just come through dancing, come through money, because that's not the only way. We can also find it through other ways. So introducing art, contemporary art, to the local people and village people and to the kids. So we had like kids from this NGO where they come from a family with very hard circumstances. Some kids does not have a family, some has family, and they want to put the kids in this kind of environment. So we were working with children like that. So it was a platform we created for these reasons. And after that, because of the pandemic, we also created a virtual platform. Like now we have the Zoom webinar going on, because we know, let's say, an Indian artist or somebody from Africa creating a piece must be a groundbreaking, amazing piece. But in order for this piece to become in a global platform, it's impossible. He needs to be friends with the consulate. Yeah, the consulate person should like him, or some artist should like him, or you should somehow fit into some festival in Europe or in America. We are working on gender. This piece fits there. So he spends so much energy and resources creating, and it's all shared to 20 people in his local area, and it's not shared anywhere. And we know there's talents everywhere, and they just don't have a platform. And thanks to this new era, the technology is great tool. I mean, I can make something groundbreaking now, and it's out there running. So we created this virtual festival with a very specific format that we wanted people to create pieces. And so we did 1 month festival where we had performances. There were, I don't know, people from 35 different countries applied, and we had more than 100 and more people applied for it. And we chose around 60 people, 73 artists were performing, and we showed the short pieces to see what they do. And we had great work, like from Africa to South America to China to Japan, Hong Kong, India. So the idea is that how we can all come together, and so you see the knowledge in one place in a way.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful, wonderful project. Actually, I'm now in Zambia, and little by little, I start to understand also the conditions, because this country, this area in general of southern part of Africa depends a lot of South Africa, because South Africa is, let's say, the country that is more developed. And something that is striking is there are no national theaters, or there is no like a venue, like a proper venue for performing arts. They have something like a playhouse, but they say like from years on the floor is breaking, the system is not working. So yeah, like one of the projects we have in this area where we're living is to build one proper theater. And actually, it sounds very good, and I think we will talk more about it. Like if you plan to do this festival always in Asia, or is there a possibility to move it to different areas of the planet?
I mean, the plan is to continue. I mean, this is now really becoming an organization, and we have many projects planning up, and we're just waiting for the pandemic to kind of
Yeah.
calm down, because if you want to do something physical, we need to solution, and it
Mhm.
will be continued. And we have some great projects coming up, but we're just waiting for the right time. And but now talking about, just to resonate from what you said about Zambia, that people don't have a theater. And that means people are actually dancing in their life. They're dancing probably in a small tent somewhere, or backyard of somebody, or
Yeah.
even in the streets, just put a music and dance. And I think it would be great to have, yes, it would be in that environment. It would be great for them to have a proper theater with proper lights and technique, for them to have that luxury. And I feel like in Europe, maybe they should do the other way around, take the dance to people's life, you know bring it to the streets, bring it to supermarket, or go and dance with kids in the school. Or I guess it can happen both the way. I don't think one is in the privileged place in the other. If you look at it, I think there's always way we can take from each other a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Actually, my background is in break dance, so I started dancing basically on the street, and then little by little moving more into more formal environments. Wow. So, Rakesh, I usually have three questions to close. If you want, we can go through them briefly.
Yeah.
Mm, so, okay, there is this person, let's say in both sides of the world, because you have both experience, like the Asian and the European. They are thinking about taking an education and starting their career. What could you recommend to them?
Thinking about, I would say, I mean, if you have the luxury to travel, if you had the money to travel, I think you can take information from different places. I think there are so many long depth study I have done in Asian cultures or many traditional forms. And that's something I think would be really cool for Western people to look into. Like, we were talking about, we all taking information from different places just to understand the commitment, what is commitment means, what is conviction means. Because talking about India, like people making everything holy, actually they make the form also holy. It's actually almost like a religion, that form. They spend the entire life. I think there's something very beautiful about it. There's somebody that I know, I mean, not personally so much, but her father is one of the biggest teacher, a guru of a specific form. And she is the father's teacher, a student. But then she decided at one point, young age in life, I don't call him father anymore. He's my teacher.
Okay.
And hence, he is the teacher who's the father, but she sees him as a teacher all the time for the rest of her life. And she's like now my age. So people have a completely different way of looking at art and what the search with art. In India, somehow everything connects to going back to this truth of life, finding meaning of life. It all somehow links to that. So hence they really commit to it. They really dedicate to it, to a form, to a thinking. I think there's something magical about it. One can experience if you have money to go and commit yourself for years, and vice versa also. Because in India, or talking only from Indian point of view, because I'm an Indian, I don't know about the rest of the Asian part. I've been also spoon fed a lot. I've been told like, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this, and even sometimes don't question me. You know, and I'm like, no, but how would I know? I want to know. So, and because of that, there's also lots of hierarchy and lots of manipulation, lots of controlling people. Like, yeah, because if you leave from here, you will go to hell, or you will be punished, or I will sue you. And they have this different attitude like that. So I think for that reason, one also should step out of that system a little bit, explore different things, educate yourself differently, reflect yourself, and but not just reflecting, make sure that you investigate through that reflection.
Mhm.
So I would say this would be one thing.
Nice, nice. So the second is, I think also you have both perspectives because you mentioned something about Asia and then you know the environment in Europe. So there is a dancer that is struggling to be financially sustainable, either by getting jobs or maybe combining with other things. Which advice would you give to this person?
Well, isn't it ironical that we say we don't have money for art when in the human history, in the system, there's the most money ever, right? Means I don't know, 100 years ago we didn't have this luxury of money. Like now, people are spending money like maybe in a second there are a billion people buying product. That means money is going in and out like crazy, and
Yeah.
the money is also growing somewhere a lot. I think what is the problem is the sensitivity towards art. What is the problem is that the value that people have towards art has gone. It's going more and more digital, more completely. Netflix has become the new art. I don't know, like because it's really changing world. And I would say, I just hope people don't lose the inspiration fire of this being an artist, and the passion of being an artist, and the dream that they want to do through art should not define how many money they get from the government or not. Talking from my personal experience, like I said, we didn't have any money in India, but we continue. I think we have to readapt to the reality because the reality is not going to change. The
Mhm.
politicians, they know everything. They know every inside out of the system. Purposely, there's no money in the art, and it's not just a coincidence for a specific reasons. So now you have to accept the reality, find a strategy that you feel like, okay, this strategy is going to keep my passion continue, with which I probably have to work somewhere for some hours, and I dedicate 4 hours of my life for art and 4 hours of the, life for something else. Actually, 4 hours per day is quite a lot for art. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Nice.
accept the reality, continue. Let's hope for the better day. I don't know. And make people realize the value of art. I would say that's what I said. Bring art from theater, inject that people's house, inject in their mind, inject in their heart. Then they recognize, yes, we need this.
Yeah.
Where were these? People are forgetting it.
Yeah, 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 very much. And the last one, because we mentioned also this idea of processes and products, which back on the days I came up with this sentence like, we are the process of a product, not the product of the process that was behind. So, what would you suggest to someone that wants to create their own performance?
Um, I mean, when I talk with, because I work with students, and some students comes to me, I don't impose this, and but when they come and ask me like, yeah, I'm that worried, I don't know what to do, and I will ask them, yes, look, the traditional way is that you are saying that you want to create something for a theater where you want to have 70 lights on you, and then you want people to come and watch you. But we are in a time, we are in a very tricky time as a humanity. We don't know what is the future. We don't know what is coming in 15 years. But we know now that reality, we know pandemic is already on. What is our future? Where are we going as a humanity? Because we need to, the art was very much linked to the humanity, you know. And when we are in a situation where things are changing and altering, the money is not there, and I don't know where I belong, am I relevant, and whom I am creating? You're creating art for, oh, I put it in the opera for the Paris, and you have all the elite come and watch, and they say, wow, such a great show. I go and have an amazing dinner and talk to my friends about this art, they forget it and they go on with their life. Or can you also use your art, the passion, the love, the years of training into something in a place where it is really relevant right now? You know, how can we reformulate the creation itself? Like, I don't believe an art should be in a specific concept, context. I want to take Deltebre Danza for that example, and which is why we also inspired to do projects like this. I saw a change in the society. I saw something was happening in that village which resonated there. I met people 11 years ago. I meet the same people even now. Every year I go, they become like, oh, you're back again, so great. And that person changed. That person from clapping for a trick that time, wow, whenever people were doing tricks, they would clap and cheer. So now they come and tell me like, yeah, it's just tricks. I don't like it. And you're like, wow. And so we have so much power than just putting a 60-minute show on stage. I'm sorry. So we need to recognize that power, and we need to inject that power in the necessary places right now. So rethink where you want to create and what is creation means for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Is this, yeah, well, something from Raining Rosas also we have this message of the artist as being responsible at having, yeah, the power and the responsibility of sending a message that is gonna be heard or that can resonate. And also to have this platform of being on the stage many times. So it's, yeah, very important to
I mean,
remind.
just to add one sentence just to finish that question,
Mhm.
is that imagine this in this chaotic time, and you're running around like crazy, and you're an artist, you put a show, and you have at least 100 people dedicate their life for 1 hour for you.
Mhm.
They want to hear what is that you want to tell them. So it's an important moment.
Yeah.
It's like they're committing their life for that moment for you. They have given you that responsibility. I'm not saying that you should please your audience, but they're there to hear you. So what is
Yeah.
it you want to say?
Yeah, 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 very much. I agree. And actually, I presented something before coming to Zambia there in Valladolid, and I was introducing these questions also during the piece, especially because I like for Lars von Trier, he's a Danish director, and he plays with the audience a lot because being a creator has a lot of power over the audience. And I was mentioning things about psychopathy, also manipulation, because it's a power that can be used for good, for bad, or for questioning, something in between. So many interesting things over there.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
let's see what happens.
So Rakesh, do you want to send a message to close? So how can people can connect you, or can if they want to
Yes,
participate?
well, yes. I mean, right now I'm constructing my new website, so the website is not up yet. But people can reach out to me, my Instagram and Facebook, Rakesh Sukesh. I think in Instagram is Sukesh Rakesh. Somehow it was other way around. And so that's the main, it's more like, let's say, open public platform. And I think in my Facebook, they can also access my email account. So it's also there. So if
Mhm.
people wants to follow my work and further where I'm going, teaching, it will be up there. They can connect to me there. Yes.
Yeah, and also I think for the project of Sanskar, I think it could be very interesting to participate as a volunteer for many people also to understand
Yes,
how
I mean,
to.
like
Yeah.
we are again, we have a website now, and it is still the virtual dance festival website is still going on, and because we are redoing the website there also. So it's a sanskarindia.org is the website, and they know future projects that is coming, and even we have our Instagram, which is Sanskar India, and so there we will see the projects and people want to apply, and we are also trying to get money from foundations to see if we can start having more scholarships and exchange and grants and stuff like that. So we are working on all these areas, so definitely people can observe what's happening, and we will be announcing projects, and they can try to reach out to us, and we do our best to find a way that we support each other.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rakesh. You have some message to give. Is your moment, if you want, to communicate
Well,
something.
I would say now the fact that we are all inside and not very less interaction, it also gives time for us to self-reflect. I would say take this time to self-reflect and become comfortable within our own body.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
fully agree. A
that's
lot
what
of
I would say.
meditation and yoga to carry on.
If it's possible, that would be great. Definitely.
Wonderful, Rakesh. Thank you very much for being here for this conversation.
Thank
And
you, Carlito. Thanks for this
yeah,
opportunity, this time.
thank you. And I really invite everybody listening or watching to meet Rakesh, to attend to their workshops, and to get involved in the Sanskar because sounds amazing.
Yes.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, Rakesh. I hope to see
Thank
you very
you.
soon.
Yes, we
Yeah,
will. Take care.
thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Yeah, and we see you very soon.
Yes. Bye bye.
That's